Hey everyone, so we posted this article in our blog and it's where to go next, how to choose from over 4,000 cities. And that's how many cities there are with over 100,000 people. How do you drill down on this and decide where you want to go in your nomadic journey? Right now, I'm sitting recording this in Amsterdam, but before this, we've been in Madrid, in Barcelona, in Valencia, in Seville, in Lisbon, down in the south, in Portugal, in Lagos, and Carvuero. How do you make those decisions? So there are two websites that I highly recommend, and I'm going to show you those now and how best to use them and help you drill down on what's most important to you. Definitely go to this article. I'll put a link down below, and this kind of gives you my run through of how to make the best decisions. I thought with this video tutorial, it would really help you as well. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with Nomad List. All right, so you're going to go to nomadlist.com. Again, I'll put the link down below. And when you get there, you're going to see a screen that looks like this. It's really cool. They're going to rank the top 300 or so cities and base it upon what they call a Nomad score, which is going to factor in a lot of categories such as cost, internet, co-working, fun, safety, food, cost of living, all those sort of things, and it kind of gets rolled up. So it doesn't mean that the first one or the fourth one is going to be best for you because there's so many criteria here. But it's certainly a great way to start. And probably as you scroll down through this, some of the locations and cities you might be very familiar with, some you maybe have never heard of and didn't even know that these were an option. But you may realize as you go over them that you may see some categories that are a concern for you, like maybe Mexico City with the safety, below average. Maybe you want to investigate that further before you just consider this. It's obviously very popular. It's got a lot going for it, but there are some factors that you want to consider based upon what's important. Also on the right side, since I'm in Amsterdam right now, you can see it's great for networking if you want to meet people. It shows you that there's a meetup coming this week, so you can always join that. This shows you all the people that are in the Netherlands right now, and there's tons of them. It does a really nice job as well if you're looking to reach out to other people doing the same thing that you are. On the top here, you can say, hey, I just want locations in Europe because that's where I want to focus. And you can see number one right now is Madeira, which is an amazing island, part of Portugal. Can super highly recommend it. Doesn't surprise me at all. Lagos is number two here. Also highly recommend it. We stay there quite often. But some of these other spots may surprise you. This here in Romania or Tbilisi in Georgia, Portimao in Portugal, and so on. So it's a really great way to get brainstorm ideas. Like you saw in my article, we had to brainstorm a bunch of ideas to narrow down where we wanted to go over the course of this year. You may want to think regionally. Maybe you're going to focus on Latin America. Again, you need to drill down. You can't just look at this and say, okay, Lima, Peru, that's where we're going to go, because there are some issues there even more recently in the news. So it deserves more research. Same goes for Asia, right? You may consider Bangkok, which is very popular for digital romads. So as you can see here, you can go ahead and see where the score comes from and you get much more detail. The total score, overall, how it ends up ranking number 7 in Asia. Do people like it or not? Overwhelmingly, people do like it. Quality of life is good. Family, if that's important to you, but like I said, sometimes it's not. So that's why you want to dig in here more to see. Cost, super affordable, obviously. Good internet speeds overall. A lot of fun, depending upon if that's the scene you're looking for, that's going to matter to you. Weather, it's going to be a big deal, right? It's very hot there. So these are things you may or may not know if you don't look in here. Air quality, safety, a lot depends upon what's important to you. For instance, right now we're in Amsterdam, so I can speak firsthand to Amsterdam. You can see it's got a lot of green. People love it. In general, quality of life is really high here. The problem is it's expensive. Now, this is all relative because when I compare it to my expenses in Austin, it's not. But compared to so many other locations you can choose, it's definitely well above average on expenses. The weather isn't great. They went 180 days, I think, here without being above 20 degrees Celsius. So it's going to depend a little bit upon when you go. Obviously, there's really no crime here at all. It's super walkable, just very favorable in most things, but there may be some things to you that matter. If you come in the summer, it's true. Like we're staying in a place that has no air conditioning. It would be quite warm where we're staying right now. Based by going through here on each of these tabs, has all kinds of excellent information. Who's here right now? Cost of living. Sometimes I agree with what I see here. Sometimes I don't. Like for instance, this Airbnb median price, $369 a night, maybe. I've actually found it to be lower, especially if you're looking like we are to stay longer term. We're well below this on the nightly. Now, definitely higher than when we were in Madrid or Barcelona, no question, but nowhere near this level. I think at this point, well under $200 per night, and actually maybe in the $150 per night in a really nice place. And if you're going very short term, you pay more. If you're like us, you're going for several weeks or a month, you can absolutely get fairly significant discounts on your Airbnbs overall or your serviced apartments. Now, other ways to use Nomad List is you can go here and you can say, that's the overall Nomad score. What if I just want to focus on quality of life. So it'll change the ranking on just quality of life. If that's your number one, and then you may want to go through here. Maybe cost doesn't matter to you. But what you could do is you can go over to filters and then say, all right, I want high quality life, but I want it to be inexpensive, below $3,000 a month. You'll end up seeing what it comes up with here. So some of these places may surprise you, right? Canary Islands are beautiful. They're very affordable, and they're actually three of the top four spots. They have very high quality of life. Number one is Taipei, Taiwan. May not have been one you've considered. It's super safe, and you can go in here and see more information. Madeira, once again, hitting on all levels. Seoul, South Korea, etc. So this is a great way to use all the different search here to come up with your top 10, your top 20, your top 30. Now, the second site I want to show you how to use is Numbeo. All right, so Numbeo is also a great site. It's numbeo.com. And what you can do is they use people reporting back what everything costs in a city. So what I would suggest is go ahead and look at Nomadlist first, and then come with your top candidates and really do a deeper dive on cost of living, quality of life, because they also assess everything, and you may get some disagreement between the two. So for instance, we started in Madrid. That was the first stop. I want to look at this and see if I agree with this overall. And I want to compare it to Austin, since that's where we're from. And I'm going to tell you, since we were there almost a month, if I agree with the detail. It says restaurant prices are about 38% lower than Austin. I would definitely agree with that, argue it even more. Groceries, 34% less. Absolutely. So I would agree with all this. Rent prices, over 50% lower. So for me, we found that we spent less than half of what we typically spend in Austin when we were in Madrid. So I would drill down a little bit and say, do I agree that the average meal in Austin for a three-course mid-range restaurant is $90? I would agree with that, except what I think they left out is tip and tax, because typically for us it was about $120. Madrid, absolutely, this was my sweet spot at really nice restaurants, was about 40 to 50 euros, covering everything, drinks, mains, dessert, small tip if you leave one, and taxes always rolled up and included. Beer, yep, half the price, would agree with that, $3 versus $7. So I think it's always a good idea. Do a little checking. It's going to give you a really nice idea, and it drills down on things like groceries, dining out, if you're going to be living here. Now, a lot of this here, for those of us who are a little bit more romantic, we're not really living somewhere. So does actually the price of electricity matter? It does and it doesn't. It will, because it's going to be reflected in your Airbnb costs or your hotel costs. So if you're finding that typically things of this nature are less, rents are less, utility costs are less, that is going to be reflected then in your Airbnb prices. So the fact that it's 50% less to have a one-bedroom apartment in Madrid than it is in Austin, that's going to factor into what you can stay for a few days to 2 weeks to a month to 2 months to 3 months. Salaries may just tell you a little bit about what overall pricing is. Overall, again, if salaries are lower, more than likely your cost of living is going to be significantly lower. In this case, 50% lower on average salaries, then that's what we saw on our roll up for the month on what we spent in Madrid versus what we would have spent in Austin. Where this also becomes really important is maybe I'm moving from city to city. The last city we were in was Berlin, and we are now in Amsterdam. I just switched those around because maybe I want to see when I'm going and shifting from Berlin to Amsterdam what to expect. And I actually did this when we were in the airport on our flight over. And what matters to me, rent prices are lower in Berlin, and I would agree with that because the Airbnbs are definitely lower in Berlin than Amsterdam. There's some licensing issues too in Amsterdam with Airbnbs. That's part of the reason. So would I say that the average nightly is 20% higher in Amsterdam? I would. Restaurants are a little bit cheaper in Berlin. I think that's true. They're about 11% lower. So we have seen that in the restaurants we've gone to. They're definitely more expensive in Amsterdam. Grocery prices about the same. I would say they were a little bit lower, actually. I don't know if I agree with this completely. The great news is you get really great details all the way down between places. Now, if I was looking at a place that we, on this journey, that we really loved, that we thought we'd want to spend more time at, was Valencia, Spain. So maybe I want to compare it again to my baseline, which is Austin. For you, that might be New York. It might be Los Angeles. I suggest that because you're going to be most familiar with where you're originally from. So rent prices are significantly lower. This means I'm probably going to have really nice nightly rates on my stays. And if I can stay longer, I'm going to get significant discounts. Restaurants are way cheaper, right? 40% lower. And to me, that's actually before I feel tips. I think it's going to be probably more like 50%. Groceries, 33% lower. So that gives you a really good idea. And you can drill down here and see what makes up that overall. Now, Numbeo has a lot of other really nice things besides cost of living. You can do what's called, use this cost of living calculator. Let me show you how cool this is. I'm in Austin, Texas, and I want to compare it to, in this, I just said Valencia, so let's show that. I'm going to say I spent 7,500 in, and I'll say euros in Austin. Obviously, I'm spending USD. So this is just going to give you a quick comparison overall. So it tells you only need about 4,000 euros in Valencia to have the same lifestyle of 7,500 in Austin. So that's significant, and that's very good information to know. But there's actually another that I really like even more, is this cost of living estimator. All right, so in this case, I'm going to put Amsterdam, and that's where we're staying now. So what I can really customize is say, okay, I've got two people right now because we're traveling with two people. I'm going to eat out a lot. Let's just say like lunch and dinner 75% of the time. You could lower this and save a lot, put it 50%, 25%. When eating in restaurants, you're choosing inexpensive restaurants. Let's say about half the time, lunches and some dinners. I'm going to say that's the case. Drinking coffee outside your home, I don't know, I'll just put it low for now. Going out, average, no smoking in this case. Alcohol consumption, I'll just put moderate. You can change it. We walk everywhere here. So you can submit and recalculate this, and this is going to say, okay, based upon what you just told us, you eat out a lot. So, obviously our restaurant budget is going to be 2,300 euros for the month. Still surprisingly, way lower, I know, than what this would be in Austin if we ate out 75% of the time. This would be double, easy. Eating some food at home. So we could change our ratios on that. We could decide to eat more at home. Like where we're staying now, we have a nice kitchen. So we actually have been making some meals in or reheating. A little bit of public transportation. We're really walking everywhere. I don't even have this expense at all, but they're basically figuring in a monthly pass. Sometimes we'll be taking a train to another city in the Netherlands. So it's saying 3,800 euro before rent. And I think that's fair. If we added in rent, let's say 2,500 euros a month or 3,000, that'd be 6,800 for the month. That's eating out 75% of the time, having a great lifestyle. Could we get this under 5,000 euro? Yes. All you have to do is tweak your numbers up here, right? Don't go out as often, right? Go out 25% of the time. Eat out in inexpensive restaurants most of the time. You're going to see it's going to make a big difference overall. We dropped it all the way down to 2,200 euros before any rent costs. This is really helpful. I would definitely use this cost of living estimator. Numbeo also has quality of life. You can absolutely go, for instance, Amsterdam, and I can see what people are saying quality of life. Purchasing power is high. It's very safe. Healthcare is great. Climate, I don't know, very high. We were over on Nomadlist, and climate was lower. So I'm not sure. Part of the year, absolutely, it's got a great climate, no question. Cost of living is moderate. No, this kind of gives you a good idea. Pollution's very low. I would agree with virtually all of this. Another nice thing is there's a lot of cities around Amsterdam, like The Hague, Utrecht, as you can see. So you can compare other locations. You may get better quality of life in The Hague, just being a little bit outside of Amsterdam, Utrecht, when you're 30 minutes away. We can click it and see. But you can see purchasing power is even better. Maybe this is a place to stay and just come into Amsterdam, and it may be more pleasant if you're staying long term. So these are things you can look at overall, and it's very helpful. I can look at the quality of life index. Interesting enough, The Hague has the highest quality of life in this survey. And then another place in the Netherlands where we're staying now, another place in the Netherlands we're going to visit this week, Rotterdam, Valencia that I mentioned, Madrid that I mentioned, all in the top 20. So some of the places you've been, you can tell somewhat how we made some of our decisions here. And on down, and this is going to include locations in the U.S. as well, because there's many great places there. But then you can compare the places in the U.S. versus the costs, so you can drill down to locations, Europe, Asia, America, and so on. So I think you can see that Nomadlist, Numbeo, absolutely going to be great places to get research. I think the numbers really speak. To me, this is one of the greatest ways to come up with your top 10, your top 20 list and start to drill down and start to plan your list overall. So I hope you get a lot out of these two. If you've got some other great ideas on how to use these two websites or other websites that provide similar information, definitely comment down below. Let us know, share that, and hope you have a great time planning your itinerary on where you want to go next, choosing from thousands of different cities. It's a lot of fun and it's a great adventure. So great searching, and we'll talk to you all soon.